Okay, we're back on with just the calculator page. So I just went from the home page, new document, and we're on the calculator. Okay, so let's try an operation. So if I do something, let's try a couple fractions. So if I do, I'm going to do 7/9 plus 5/8. And if you want to do a fraction, just use the divide button. Boom. Spits out your fraction. Now, by default, it's gonna if you give it a fraction, it's gonna give you an answer in a fraction. If you want your answer in decimal form, you have a couple ways to do it. If you hit Control then Enter, do you see above the Enter button, it even has an approximate symbol. So it'll approximate it, because in a lot of cases it won't come out, as just tenths or something. So approximate will do it. Here's another way to do it, and this is a nice feature too, is if you go up, you'll highlight as you go. And whatever you have highlighted, if you just hit Enter, boom, it copies it right down to the bottom. And you can go in there and tweak something on it. Maybe I meant to say 3/8. And if you put a decimal point anywhere in it, it's going to give you a decimal point answer. Okay, and then I'm going to show you one other nice feature when dealing with fractions. This little button next to the 9. You see this guy right here? This has a library of templates. So if I hit that, and if you want to put it away, put escape. Hit that, and you'll see the log. There's some piecewise functions, bunch of calculus functions. Super cool. And this calculator is so powerful. I mean, it'll handle all sorts of things. It'll do indefinite integrals, matrices stuff. I mean, here's angles with minutes and seconds feature. But right now, we're just going to take this first one. And this gives you a nice, pretty fraction already stacked up. And this is nice because you don't have to drive yourself crazy using a lot of parentheses if you're going to have more than one term in your numerator or denominator. Normally, you'd have to put parentheses everywhere so you don't mess up. Boom, I just go to that. So let's try another one. So 1, arrow down to 1/2. You're going to have to hit arrow over to get out of that. Minus, and if I want to do that again, 1/3, say. Okay, another way to access that too is if you hit Control, and you see above divide right here, it has that same symbol. So Control divide will do the same thing. So handy way, awesome way to do your fractions. So I'm just going to put something in, and if I put a decimal, then it spits out the fraction for me. Okay, now if you want to convert a decimal back to a fraction, you're going to have to go under the menu button. And your menu button, this is a powerful button. So I told you the home button is our friend and the menu button is our friend. Now, depending on what page you have, when you hit menu, you see different things. So if we were working on graphs, which we're going to do in a minute, you'll have a different set of things under your menu button. So we've got this, and actions is just some tool using things, clear the history, wipe stuff out. I hardly ever use any of that. Number, though, so these are just basic number, sense operations kind of things. So we have approximate to fraction. So it's going to take your answer, try to approximate it to a fraction, hit enter, and it worked. Okay, the reason it says approximate to fraction is it's going to try really hard, even if it's an irrational number, which can't be written as a fraction, it'll try really hard to do it. So sometimes you get some really messy fractions. Let's try one out. I'm curious what it's going to do. So let's, not that. So I want to do a square root. So if I hit Control and then the squared button, square root of 2, if I hit enter, yeah, it just tells me square root of 2. It's not going to try to give you a decimal, unless I'm going to go up and copy it. If you put a decimal point in it, or if you hit Control enter, it'll approximate it out. So if I want to, let's see what it does if I try to make it into a fraction. Yeah, it's messy. So it did its best to write this as a fraction. That's not going to be very friendly. So it'll do its best. But if we go back under menu, number, There's a lot of other pretty cool stuff in here. So we've got least common multiple. So if you put your number in, the least common multiple of 5, and then comma, and you see the comma down here by the keyboard right there, 5, 6. So it'll give you your least common multiple. But I wanted to check out factor. Okay, this is a powerful tool. So if I tried, 240, it's going to give you the prime factorization of that number. Pretty slick. What else we got over here? Your exponent button. So there's squared. That's just for squaring stuff. If you want to do other than squared, hit the little caret. It'll give you a box for whatever exponent you want. We got our roots. I'm going to go back. Oh, let me show you something else too. You can also type in commands with the keyboard. So if I type in LCM, now you notice it's in italics. Until I type in a command, some sort of function that the calculator recognizes, it's just going to use italics. But when I finish it, it snaps out of italics. And almost every command that you have to type in, you're going to have to put whatever you're passing to it in parentheses. So factor, and watch, as soon as I hit the R, bloop, popped right out. Put your parentheses. Now this thing will factor almost anything. It's ridiculous how well it factors. So you could give us something like x squared minus 9, and it'll factor that too. That's a major difference between the non-CAS version and the CAS version. The CAS version can handle things with x's in it. So you can factor an expression with an x, with an unknown. The non-CAS version, it wouldn't be able to do this. It'd be able to do the factor of 240. It'd be able to do the numeric bit, but it wouldn't be able to do the other one. If you want to do your trig stuff, there's a trig button right here next to the 7. So if I want to do sine of, and it says I'm in radian mode, so we can click on that and change it. Oop. All right, I wanted to back that up. Okay, so I want to do a trig function. So you have a couple places to look. You can go under this trig menu, and there they all are. Or you could just type them in. Okay, now I'm in radian mode. It says so up in the corner. So that's going to tell you what mode you're in. Now you can go to your settings and change that. Or if I want to, say I want to do it anyway, I want to do sine of 30 degrees. Well, if I do sine of 30 and hit enter, it's going to assume I'm in radian measure, and it's not going to be the answer I wanted. But if you put a degree symbol on it, it'll treat it like degrees without having to change your setting. So I want to show you that, and then I'm going to change the setting to show you how to do that too anyway. But next to the 9, you had the little template button, and there's a little textbook. And if you hit that, the fourth thing over, this is a library of all the symbols in your calculator. So you have plus or minus symbol and all these, and there's a degree right here. So if I do sine of 30, it's going to give me sine of 30. It's going to give me 1/2. Or we can go ahead and change that. Document settings. If I tab down to that, open up my options, I can choose degree, tab, 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 tab. Okay, now I'm in degree mode. So it'd be pretty easy to type in cosine of whatever. And if you notice, the non-CAS one won't do this. If you typed in cosine of 45, it'll just spit out the approximation for it. Kind of like your 84s and 83s did. So you might have, when you've taught trig stuff before, if you have your kids get handy on a calculator, you might have taught them, or you might have intentionally not taught them this, or it made the point that 0.707 is square root of 2 divided by 2, because a lot of times kids would just start to figure that out when you're trying to teach them to give you exact answers. But on the CAS version, it's going to give you exact answers right out. Now this is you might be thinking, well, that's too much for a student, and it might be. It's a good argument of whether you want students to be able to get such precision in it. I mean, like this factoring, this thing will factor everything. Is that a tool you want your students to have, or is that too much, or it's getting them around stuff? I can believe the argument either way easily. But this calculator in your hands as the teacher, it's nice having it like this. It's nice being able to get your exact answers. It's nice to be able to check yourself as you go and keep things straight. It'll even evaluate, if you recognize this is the Pythagorean identity for trig stuff. That sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Your calculator even recognizes that. So it'll do an immense amount of trig identities as well. I'm not going to try to start making some up off the top of my head. But the other UTP professors working with us, they might do some more advanced trig stuff, and so maybe I'll come back and show you some trig stuff on here. That's very helpful. But just letting you know, it's incredible what it can do. So I leave it to you to debate, or maybe that's a good thing to put in the comments below. If I might post that as a question at the end of the video. What do you think about having the tool to get so much out of this calculator? Do you want that in the hands of your students or not? I mean, how much do you want them to be able to do? How much do you want them to know how to work out by hand? Okay, so I'm gonna keep doing some other stuff, but let's wipe this out a little bit. So I'm gonna go to Menu, Actions. So under Menu, Actions, and then Clear History. This just wiped the page. You could have gone home and you could have made a new document and started fresh, or we can just clear it. Just more than one way to do it. So since I went home, I took my document down, hit 4, it's current, to bring it back up. Oh, I don't know what else I wanted to show you. So if I have an expression, okay, nothing happened. I didn't really do anything to it. But if I want to tell it to evaluate at a certain value for x, I could easily go in and say if I want to evaluate this function at 4, and I can do that. Now, if I want to evaluate it again and again and again for different values, I don't want to have to do that every time. So I can do this. In fact, I'm not going to type it in. Let's go up, grab the function. Now, if you hit Control equal, you get your inequality symbols, and then you get this bar symbol. It's kind of the such that operator. So I want to evaluate the expression 2x plus 3 such that, or where x equals 4. And it'll do that. And so I can just go back up and copy it, and all I got to do is toggle that last number and reevaluate my function. In fact, you can even do this. If I want to evaluate it at more than one number at a time, you have a curly bracket right here. So if I hit Control and that. Now your curly brackets usually denote a set of points. So if I want to do it at 2, 4, and 10. If I hit Enter, it's going to evaluate the function for 2 and 4 and 10 all at once. And I think that's pretty slick. So that's a useful button to have. That was under Control equal, and that's where I grabbed the such that bar. So Escape will turn that off. Okay, I think the last thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to close this one, and I think I'm still going to do a part 3 and show you some of the more CAS capabilities. But the other thing that I'd love doing on the 84 became very useful is you can store a number in for a variable. So if I have like 6, if you hit Control and then variable where it has the STO right here, so Control and then STO, so I can store and I can pick any letter I want. So now G Now, do you notice G's in bold? If I type in any other letter, it's just in italics because it doesn't mean anything. Italics, it has no value. But G, calculator knows G is something. So if I want to do 3 times G plus 5, it'll work it out. Now, the reason I think this is pretty handy is, let's say you wanted to do something like, the Pythagorean theorem. So you could store your values in for A, you could store something in for B, and let's store something in for C. And then you can type in the whole quadratic formula with your A, B, and C. So control divide, like we talked about, get your stacked fraction. So I could say negative B plus square root of negative, what am I doing? B squared minus 4 times A. Now, I'm going to make another point right here. You have to be careful. If I type in C, see how it went back to italics? Because it thinks I typed in a variable named AC. We want to do A times C. You better separate them, or it thinks you're naming something else entirely. And then go down to A. So this does have an advantage, because if I want to do the quadratic formula again, I can just change what A, B, and C are, copy and repaste the formula. And it's nice when you're showing your students, because I'm able to show them the formula as the formula. And there I go. And it's going to try to give it to you in the most simplified form, even puts the fraction. You're wondering, where's the other one? Isn't it negative B plus or minus? Yes. So the easiest thing, if you missed what I just did, let me show you that. So I just went up. Just did up, and when it's highlighted, hit enter. And then what you're going to have to do is just go back over and change your plus to a minus. Be careful not to use the negative. Otherwise, you just told it to do negative B times a negative square root of all that. So we want to use the minus. And there's the other one. So if I wanted to do it again, I could just restore values for A, B, and C. And then just go up and pull this back down. Now, if you're wondering what I did a minute ago, I copied this down and then I told you I changed my mind. If you hit Control Z, if you hit Control Z on your computer, it'll do undo. Like if you're typing a document, Control Z will undo. The same thing works on your handheld. Control Z will undo. Control Escape is the same thing. And Control Z. So it's very nice. If you just did a bunch of stuff and you mess something up and you just want to kind of rewind your steps without having started completely over, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. And Control, I'm going to write some of these down. So we have so that'll undo. And then if you hit Control with C, like in your computer, that'll copies whatever's highlighted. And Control V, this will paste whatever's highlighted. And lesser known and probably less used, or maybe you use it, Control Y will redo. So maybe you undid one step too many. Control Y will replace the steps and put you back to what you used to have. So these work. Oh, and Control A. That'll select all. So these work just on your computer. There might be more. If you could think of one that I might have missed on the computer, put it in the comments, and I'll let you know if it works on the handheld, or try it and see if it does. So like if I hit, let's say I copy this down. If I hit Control A, grabs the whole thing. I can hit Control C to copy it, which I don't know why I did because I already had it, but Control V will paste it. So the one thing that's nice for doing is if maybe I have a whole function that I've typed in, Control A will highlight it. Well, then if I hit squared, it'll square the whole quantity rather than trying to select it all or delete it and start over. I don't want to square it though. So Control Z will undo that. If I Control C and copy it, well, then I can go into a graphs page, Control plus a page, add a graphs. If I hit Control V, I can just put it in. So they are pretty useful. All right, I'm going to stop this right here because this video is going to get a little bit too long. So I'm going to pause it down, and then I'm going to make another version and talk about some other features.